already got a question they want to ask. Anyone? No.
Gonna
Oh, okay. Don't ask yet.
yes,
But when we come to the audience questions, we'll come to you first. Okay. So very good. So as you can see, I've got two people on the stage with me. So let me say, I've got next to me the writer. By the way, if I've mispronounced any names, please say. So Susan Eve Harr.
Perfect.
Yes. And the director, Abigail Zealey Bess.
That's
yes.
correct.
Wonderful. Thank you. Echo, as I understand, was first seen as just the first act, and that was in 2017
Yes.
in Edinburgh,
Yes.
Edinburgh Festival,
Yep.
Where it was called Compelling by the Scotsman, and they only saw the first act. You then, I believe you're both based in Los Angeles, is that right?
Actually, New York.
New York,
Yes.
sorry, in LA.
And New York too.
Oh, New York as well. But you did it in LA for
We
some
did,
reason
we
in
did.
2019.
Yes.
And now you've brought it here for the London premiere here at the King's Head. So let me then start, please, with you, Susan. Tell us, when was the idea born? I keep having all these birth puns in my mind, but anyway, when was the idea first born?
Well, I'm very interested in science, very. And one of the things that really interests me is all the things that scientists can do, and but what do they mean? And I actually asked one of the heads of an institution at MIT, actually it was about CRISPR, and I said, well, what do you think? Do we want a world of people without difference? And he said, look, we're curing diseases. We're not answering questions.
Okay.
So cloning is a vehicle to ask questions.
It is. Interesting. So when did you first start writing it? What was your writing process?
A long time ago. And I knew what the first act was.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me a long time to, Abigail's been with me since the beginning of everything.
Before the world began.
Then it took me a long time to know what the second act was, and then I knew.
And so when you took it, the first act to Edinburgh, did you have in mind what the second act would be, or
Yeah.
were you, so how was that, seeing that first act in front of an audience, did that spur you on to new ideas?
Well, first of all, it was terrifying, of course. And I think I understood more that it was about love, and that's what the second act, in its own way, is about.
Okay, very good. Okay, so Abigail, let me bring this over to you. When you've been involved since before time.
Yes.
What is the relationship between you and Susan? I believe you have your own production company.
Yes. We actually, though, with this is my production company, we actually met at this theatre called Susan Eve Theatre in New York, which really promotes new work. In fact, that's all it does.
Mm-hmm.
And we were actually introduced by the artistic director there, who said, you should work with Zealey, you should work with Harr. And that was actually how we first began on this journey, because I think, was it that play then, or was it a different play? I can't even remember. It was so long ago. But
I think it was Sex and Coma.
oh, okay. Yeah, well, there's another one. So we immediately got on, and it really became this relationship of really, I just understand her work. I really understand her vernacular, the way she thinks, which is crazy. But so am I, so it all makes sense. And that was really the beginning of this journey for not just many plays, but this play in particular, which took us to Edinburgh, then it took us to LA, then it's brought us here.
And obviously it has expanded in
Yes,
its iterations,
completely.
but has it also changed along the way?
Well, you should answer that. I think it has, but you should answer that. I mean, maybe not so much from Edinburgh, right? For
the first act. Yeah, the first act, yes. The second act didn't exist, of course. And, I heard things tonight that I would change.
Okay, so it's still a
inevitable.
moving piece.
Yeah, we're in previews.
Oh, we have got to come back and see what changes.
And also the cast, we had different casts, and
Very
that it
different.
changes
Totally different.
incredibly. It's just, I sometimes watch it thinking I directed this, but I really don't know what's going to happen next, which is kind of joyous, actually, when you're in that
And of
position.
course, technology is changing so quickly.
Yes,
The world is changing
yes,
so quickly.
completely.
I mean, it begs sort of other question, like the most obvious is how how close are we to this being an eventuality? But also, at one point, one of the characters says, well, the world is overpopulated. But of course, one of the pressing issues today is many countries have hugely declining fertility rates. So I can see that for some people, this might be a solution. So
I'm not so sure.
Okay, well.
England, 3 days ago on the 17th,
Yeah.
produced a cohort of 8 3-person babies.
Yes, to deal with the mitochondrial, gene, right? Yes. That sounded like good news to me, but again,
What do you think it would be like if you were one of those babies?
Yes, this is a good question. Maybe there's a sequel in it. But seriously, though, on the science, so is this possible now? What we've seen in the play, is it possible?
Not particularly. I mean, there's cloning for sure. And of course, in the United States, since we're doing away with science and, since you can't have an abortion, we're not going to be doing this. England and China are the foremost places for working with cloning. China in 2013 cloned monkeys, which is primates are a new thing, and that's moving along. There's general feeling, and this is also true, of the scientist who cloned Dolly.
That's the
not
sheep.
her- Yes, Dolly
Yes.
in a long time.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
1996.
Oh my goodness, I
Yeah.
didn't realize it was that long ago. I
Yeah.
thought it was maybe 20 years. But goodness, that's a much
So,
What's
cloning
that?
is
What's that?
quite
Anna?
complicated.
Dolly's daughter's still alive.
Oh,
Dolly's daughter is still alive.
Yeah, Dolly had four little sheep.
That's kind of incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is actually. So there's therapeutic cloning, which is really advancing, and that's a way of creating stem cells, pluripotent cells, that can be used. And people are more comfortable with it because the eggs are not fertilized eggs. And England allows it, and some states allow it. In the United States, the federal government has never given money for it. But that will allow people, because it's already in use, that will allow people to produce organs which won't be rejected because of the person's own. And it's just beginning to be used. But that's a future for cloning, not popping people out.
No, okay. Right, so that has warmed us up nicely, I think. So for our first audience question, please.
Okay. Abigail, so it's more for director and actors. And on your first day of rehearsal, what happened?
On our first day of
First day of
rehearsal?
rehearsal.
You mean like...
What do you do?
And how long was the rehearsal period?
The rehearsal
Short.
period was very short. It was 2 weeks,
Wow.
which was, intense. And then tech was 3 days, maybe, I think, maybe 2.5. On the very first day, we read through the play, and then we did questions and answers because we had such a short, limited time. Normally, I would read the play, and then we would go away and come back with the question and answer. But I was like, here's the question and answers, chaps. Let's go. So really breaking down the play in that respect, and really getting to the bottom if things didn't make sense. How does this journey? What's the journey arc for these different people? I have so many questions for you guys, actually. But yeah, that was essentially the first one. But we had to really start blocking the very next day. So, which normally you wouldn't do, right? You'd have like 3 days of maybe table work and talking about stuff. But this time it's like, okay, up on our feet. And our incredible stage management crew were there supporting us the whole way through, as well as, of course, the amazing actors who are off book so fast. But with the set, with as many props as possible, so we were really using everything, even though they were book stuff, but then they were using the props immediately, pretty much immediately, because of the time, and making sure that they were so comfortable, to be able to do this kind of work, which is so intense and goes into so many different areas. It's you can't expect people to just do that. Actors aren't like you don't press a button, as you know. you don't press a button and it happens, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes on in here.
The performances by Amara and Kyle are really
Aren't
wonderful,
they?
and they're
They're
so
spectacular.
intense.
They
Yeah.
are spectacular. Yeah.
And I hope you'll pass that on to them. I know during previews they need to be very focused on press performance,
Yeah.
but we would love to have them know that we feel that way. But what were you both looking for when you were casting those roles? Is there and
It's an
particularly
energy, right?
that
If you are,
energy?
yeah.
Go on.
Well, we got a dynamism, which
Yeah.
is more than we thought.
Yeah.
And it always has to do with the energy between the actors.
Mhm.
Since we've got 2 actors here, it's pretty intense.
Mhm.
And I think we got it.
Yes. And then you do also have, as you suggested, very intimate scenes.
Yes. Very.
You know, real
Yes.
scenes of violence.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
was looking. I don't think you didn't use an intimacy director. But how do you navigate that as part of
It
the
was,
rehearsal?
yes.
We,
You did have an intimacy director.
no, we had actually a fight choreographer.
Okay.
Who was incredible. I know, that's funny, right? But he was so amazing with the intimacy, and you know, because he did indeed, yeah. And he was so amazing, and he totally understood what we needed, you know, in order that the strangling doesn't look like a murder. You know, yeah, and it's
We
games.
hope.
It's a game that goes wrong, you know. So that was very important. And then the fact that the actors were so willing to and trusted each other, ultimately, and also trust between everybody. Actually, just really us all trusting each other and knowing I'm not gonna, like, you know, put your ass on show. It's for you. It's for you to feel safe, to look real, and to be in the best place you can possibly be to do this kind of work. you know.
And with such big themes, such controversial ideas, in such a short rehearsal
Yeah.
period, like
Yeah.
how did you discuss that with the actors at length?
Well, it was really I think from the very beginning, if you didn't, you wouldn't accept that play unless you were comfortable
Yeah.
with going there to some extent.
I mean, they all read it.
Yeah. So I think that was a big factor, and I think it's a scary play
It is.
to do, actually,
Yeah.
for an actor. It's also incredibly challenging,
Yeah.
and it's a feast. But yeah, you've got to have balls to be able to do it, because it goes into
Particularly
so much
To
territory.
be, different people in the second act.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. With Amara, it was quite striking how differently she played
Yeah.
She did.
the
She's
mother
great.
and the daughter. You know, also, yeah, the love story that you described at the end, it's deeply uncomfortable to watch.
Yes.
So- and you want, you
Yeah.
can't, I couldn't decide, like, do I want their love, or
Yeah.
am I just
Yes.
so
Yes. Absolutely.
uncomfortable with it that I
Yeah.
can't accept
Yeah.
it? Do you come down either side on this? Susan?
I think it's for the beholder to decide.
Okay, very good. Okay, other hands on science, on love, in the back there. I can see some glasses.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for the introduction.
Could you just raise your voice a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So the pearl necklace is featured very prominently both on the poster and also in both Act 1 and especially Act 2. So I was wondering what that necklace symbolizes to you. Yeah.
This is a great question,
It's
and
a
I
great
also
question.
suggest that you get a closer look at the poster in particular, but because it's very ingenious marketing. Do you want to
If you
answer
look
that,
at the
Susan?
poster, this is not answering your question, you'll see that there are embryos within the pearls. I suppose, though I've never thought of it this way, that the pearl comes from a disturbance in the oyster.
Yeah. It's made. It's not born, is it? That's true. That's true. Good question. There was another hand here. Yes.
Yeah, about the writing, how did it go? Like, how did you know that it needed a second act or something? Like, how was the
Yeah.
writing, the creative process, the research for the second act as well?
Oh, this is good. Well, actually, so yes, the question is, how did Susan decide that it should be 2 acts? But then also as part of that, the research. The research, I guess, was so important. So yeah, so what stage did you start with the research or the idea?
Well, I can't say that I'm any kind of scientist. I mean, I know basically, I know as much as the character knew about how cloning works. I was very interested in in the progress, you know, in the skin cell cloning that took place in 2013, the banning by the UN of cloning, the reactions. I think the first act, it closed as a succinct entity when we did it in Scotland. But it didn't feel complete to me. I felt it closed, and it closed with the arrival of the baby and the guy leaving. But somehow it wasn't the end. I needed them to come to some kind of understanding, which, what the understanding is in the end, I'll let you decide, but they come to a different full circle understanding.
And the title is also very clever because it's not just that the characters have this connection, but there are lines, there are
That's
you know,
right.
emotions that
Yes,
echo one
it's
another
repetition.
from one
Yes.
act to the next.
That's right.
Yes.
And also wonderful use of the film and the and the
amazing
lighting.
designers, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, amazing designers that created the set, the costumes, the projections, and the lighting, of course.
Just going back from the directorial choices though, Abigail, that end of Act 1, when the baby arrives, and like I could hear people responding to the baby being delivered within 10-mile radius, and then that it arrives in a box.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, are they going to need the Leatherman to assemble the
Open
baby? But like, was that a choice that you discussed? That it arrives in like a delivery box like a takeout?
The funny thing is, when we first did the play, it was in a picnic basket.
Oh my goodness.
And it gradually evolved throughout each production. It became like, oh well, it comes from a lab, so maybe it should be a box, which upset you very much. Do you remember? And then it's really this is from a lab. It's like some kind of lab box, and you know, I was thinking, well, maybe she's packed in ice. I don't know, but you know, it was just very like, we wanted it to have that kind of surreal effect.
I also love the detail when he runs out to collect the delivery. He makes sure to
Oh,
grab
yes,
his
it's a
credit
tip.
card.
Yes, give it
Was
the-
it credit card?
He's
or was
got
it
a
money?
tip.
It was money. Oh my god.
I'll tell
Oh
him
my
to flash
goodness.
it more when he comes.
Okay, other hands. Yes, here.
It's a fantastic production. Obviously, there's obviously a wee science fiction theme running right through it, but it's also fundamentally there's lots of very primal themes there about sort of coercive male behaviour and dominating relationships, and there's also commentary possibly about like men chasing younger women as well. And my question really, and this is, I mean, obviously I assume it's meant to be fairly sort of abstract or ambiguous, but whether you think perhaps the man actually was being honest when he said he didn't know her, the younger clone. I mean, obviously it's very unlikely, but
Well, that belongs in certain ways to the actor. And, you know, each of the actors who's done it is very different. In fact, the guy who played the man is actually in the West End now, Chris Stack. And I really would love it if Chris could see, because he played it very differently. And I think Kyle suggests in many ways that he knew all along. And the question is how much you can pretend if you really want to, and how much you can block out if you really want to, and how much you can not know if you need to not know to have what you want.
I think this is such an interesting point because when I read it, I read the first act of him being much, I didn't read the threat there as much.
Right.
So
Right.
it was a much more menacing
Yeah.
performance.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
yeah.
it is
Very
it is-
physical.
Yeah.
Very physical
Yeah.
performance.
So good question. There was
Yes.
another hand here.
As a director, there's a lot of ambiguity in the script. What was the most difficult or challenging part of the script to put together on the stage?
All of it. I mean, I think the most challenging thing was to make sure that the games meant something and that they didn't become so violent that you lost the audience, that you brought the audience into the game playing, that you understood the love between them, that there was this real need to make something happen for her, you know, like he does everything in his will to make her happy. So I think it's that balance of what is that between love and need and violence and sex and all of those things that are in this play. But yeah, I would say that was the thing, to make sure that you didn't alienate the audience.
Yeah, that's true.
To to reel them in. Otherwise, some people will obviously be horrified by some elements of this play, but hopefully they will see beyond that.
Have you had any really strong reactions like that?
We've had people walk out.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. I don't know why. I mean, it could be anything, right? It could be like
sex and violence.
It could be sex and violence. It could be like, they couldn't have a baby. It could be so many
It
things.
triggered something.
Yeah,
It triggers
absolutely,
something.
absolutely. So I actually said to the actors, it's like if someone walks out, because in this space you can see when that happens. I said, just know you're doing your job.
That's a good
You
note.
know,
That's a really helpful note. Okay, were there other hands? Other hands? I'm looking.
Karen had another
Yes,
question.
here.
Oh, Riley.
Front
Riley
row.
does.
Yep.
I would say first of all, I thought well done. I thought it was strong writing, strong directing, and I thought the strength of the actors was amazing.
Thank you.
I agree. They're amazing.
I would say that. And I thought you say, Susan, that it's a story really about love. And I can see that and I can understand it, but also within that auspice, you brought about so many questions that we can take away, asking ourselves, in all sorts of the new and modern ways that people are thinking of their lives. So I think that has left me, as I say, brain working. And I would just say to finish that as I could have been a scientist, that wasn't, that in fact the big question is, just because we can, should we?
Yes.
That's my
Yes.
question.
That
Yes,
is, isn't it?
absolutely.
That's my
So I
question.
thank you
Absolutely.
all.
Well, let's actually just quickly take an opportunity to ask the audience. You said you had questions coming out. Wow, that first one, may I ask that? Does anyone in the audience think the idea of human cloning is a good idea at some point?
No.
You do? You
There
do?
certainly is applications
Okay.
where it's ethical and legal.
Oh, okay, very good. What other questions, Abigail? You said you had other
I'd
questions?
like to say something
Susan,
about that.
please.
Which is, last night I was reading about George Church, who's a scientist at Harvard who has got a company,
Mhm.
and he's in the midst of, I think, succeeding in cloning a woolly mammoth. Yeah. Cloning,
Yeah.
with
I've been
cloning
following
from-
it.
Yeah, you have. And the birth mother will be an Asiatic elephant. And one of his colleagues, I'd never seen this before, said, well, what's the elephant going to think it's given birth to? Will it accept this baby, or will it think it's done something horrible has been born out of it? And then he said, can we provide a really good environment for a woolly mammoth? And he said, well, will the woolly mammoth be happy with its existence? And I thought that was really interesting, because it's all been about what you can do,
That's right.
not whether you should do it. And the play is, I don't know, it's a fable in certain ways, but it's about individuation and who can get their mother out, right? Our mothers are in us.
Yes. That's true.
Just following on from the woolly mammoth,
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a geek like this, that there was lots of discussions a while ago about it, and they said why they're going ahead was because, as opposed to Jurassic World, was because we lived at the same time as the woolly mammoth, so it may well be that they can absorb into our world now.
That's also being hunted into extinction probably as
Well,
well.
that's right, let's
Well,
try again.
I also I worry a
No,
lot
I'm
with AI in terms of relationships with
Oh, God.
with some of
we
my
know that.
younger relatives in particular, who with young people already developing relationships with sort of AI partners. And in some ways you think, well, what would be worse if they clone a real living human partner? or an AI? I mean, I don't want to make these choices. But there are too many awful choices. But Abigail, did you want to ask the audience?
It was something. It's just about the play because I'm always curious because we're so close to it that I don't know anymore. But what was the first instance? And this is really to all of you. What was the instance that you were like, oh, she's the clone in the second act? Did it hit any of you immediately, or you immediately? Or some of you were like, it took a bit for it to fall drop in?
And what about also realizing that he was the same person from the first?
Yeah, that's yes.
I think for me, we pretty much got it at the same time because we immediately look at each other and then we watch it. Oh, I think it's the point that the daughter said that my dad ran away after the baby arrived, and it was like, oh my god, that's the guy. In the beginning, it was just like, oh, he's like an older guy, just dating, he's like fine. But then that moment, I was like, this is.
And when he says, "You're not like her," you're not like her.
And then he starts to react very like, pretty much like, oh, like I just know it, like don't ask me why, and like, oh, you're very different like to her. Then I think it's like just like I don't even need that conversation to prove that like that is the same.
But it is, isn't it? It's like it is a dawning realization of just how far they have gone as well in this relationship, and that the love is real, and how you feel about that, whether it's right or wrong. Okay, yes, just
Sorry, I just wanted to say, I realised that it was him when he was sitting on the bed and she was sort of spiralling a little bit, and he had this like really quite menacing smile on his face, and I thought he was going to say like, "You're just like her" or something, and then he said, "Oh, you're having me on," and I was like, "Oh, it's him." Really like, oh no. I just remember that he had this really, really quite like look in his eye that was really, really palpable, that I was just like,
yes. Well, it goes back to this gentleman's question, I think, because there is a thought like, he really brings the menace, Kyle does, and there is definitely an idea that he has planned it all along to warp this woman in two different.
It reminds me of messed up Korean cinema.
Yeah,
we love that, don't
would
we?
you make it a film? I think it would be an amazing film.
Yeah, I think we should. I mean,
it
was
made
made in a
into a
short
short
film. Great.
Weirdly enough, in Austria.
In Austria, okay.
That's weird.
Very good. So last question I'd like both of you to answer. It's always, I'd like to finish with something silly, but based on the theme in the play. But what's the worst hotel you've ever stayed in?
This one?
An Airbnb in Socrates.
Which is what
you
this is
went
based
to
on.
part of the research. You went to a place.
Well, I wouldn't call it research. Part of it began, this is a bad story. My middle child had gone away to camp, and he hadn't written or contacted me, and I was very upset. And this is pretty bad. I asked my husband to take my picture lying on the floor with ketchup all over me.
You didn't.
See, now you know how she wrote the play.
That is.
To send to him, of course, to show him, and so he'd be dreadfully sorry.
Yes.
But he wouldn't do it. My husband wouldn't do it.
Oh, so that's good. So you got inspiration for that character somewhere else. Good to know. Very good. So Echo is here at the King's Head until the 17th of August.
That's right.
So audience, you are now champions for this production.
And thank you for being such a great audience.
Yes,
Yes,
great
You
audience.
really were amazing, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So please do go forth, tell your friends, grab flyers, stop people in the street, come again. I really anticipate that you're going to be thinking about this play for a long time to come, so you'll probably want to come and chew it all over again. But in the meantime, it has been a pleasure. Please join me in thanking
Thank you.
Abigail.
Thank you.